How you doing? It's just gone 9 o'clock here in Portstewart in Northern Ireland, and if you've been following me, you'll know that every weekday evening at this time, while we're all in lockdown, I'm reading chapters from my books. And at the minute, this past few weeks, I've been reading from Paperboy, and we're actually up to chapter 11. Would you believe tonight? So I hope you enjoy a bit of a Belfast bedtime story, bit of nostalgia and a bit of crack. And I hope you're doing okay and staying safe wherever you are. It's lovely to have people joining me from all different parts of the world who have a connection to Northern Ireland. So this is chapter 11 of Paperboy. It's called Scouts, Bombs and Bullets. Every day I was learning about goodies and baddies, so I was. I could soon tell in an instant who were the goodies and who were the baddies. I acquired this skill mainly at home to begin with. My granny, for instance, was brilliant at it. This was an exceptionally good foundation, but I needed to develop greater proficiency still, and I got ample opportunity to do so on the streets with the able assistance of the other paper boys. Expertise was then honed by teachers at school, and then blessed by teachers at Sunday school, as often by what they didn't say as by what they did say. Finally, my powers of judgment were perfected by paying attention to the subtext of my favourite television programmes, and of course to the pages of the Belfast Telegraph itself. If there had been 11 plus in goodies and baddies, I would have passed it for a cert. There were, you see, goodies and baddies everywhere. The world was divided up that way. It said so in the Bible and Thunderbirds and on the news. There were goodies and baddies in our street, in different parts of Belfast, in different countries throughout the world, and right across the whole universe, in fact. So it was important to be able to establish precisely who was good and who was bad. Generally speaking, goodies were friendly and baddies wanted to hurt you, so it was much safer if you stuck with goodies and avoided danger by staying away from baddies. They might even want to kill you, and hence it was sometimes better to try to kill them first before they got a chance. Now, as a pacifist paperboy, I struggled with the concept of a preemptive strike, although I had once used this approach most effectively when my wee brother was threatening to scoff a whole jar of crunchy peanut butter by striking him in the eye with my scout woggle. Of course, the most important starting point when learning about this moral spectrum was to recognise that you were always the goody. You were a goody because God had made you that way. It was great to be the goody, except when your big brother called you a wee goody for 6 months after you had got saved at the caravan. It meant you were always in the right and much better than the baddies. Obviously, Protestants were goodies and Catholics were baddies. Soldiers and policemen were goodies, while paramilitaries were baddies. Well, the UVF and the UDA were mainly baddies, but Mrs. Piper always said that we would be lost without them to protect us, even though they're bad boys and rotten till the core. We hoods from down the road were always baddies, and grammar school teachers were goodies, apart from the ones that nipped you under the arm for no reason and then taught you what a sadist was. Doctors and ministers and pokemen were goodies, but bookies and priests and tickmen were baddies. It goes without saying, of course, that paper boys were goodies, even Tish McCracken. Sometimes, though, it was very confusing. People who lived in caravans all year round were baddies, but people who lived in caravans for the 12th fortnight were goodies. Men with long hair and beards who played drums in heavy metal bands were baddies because they worshipped the devil. But men with short hair and moustaches who played drums in the flute band on the 12th were goodies because they worshipped Ulster. We African babies were goodies because they were starving to death, but we were goodies because we sent them money from our jumble sales. English people were mainly goodies, especially if they played for Manchester United, but if they wanted the troops out or were homos, then they were baddies. Scottish people were goodies because of Tartan and the Bay City Road. Swedish people were goodies because of Agnetha. And my granny could not be moved in her view that even though we had beaten them were still beating them in it's a knockout. Americans were, but it was complicated in the USA. They were mostly goodies because of Walt Disney and the Osmonds. Although my big brother said, Donnie goody than me. If Donnie had got saved on a bin at the caravan too. But then again, he was. Piper said they were baddies. Americans were mainly goodies because they made the best movies and had thousands of nuclear bombs pointing at the Russians, who were serious baddies. Americans were also goodies because they had dropped atomic bombs on Japan to win the war for us. American cowboys were goodies, but American Indians were baddies, except for Tonto because he helped the Lone Ranger. There were both goodies and baddies in Starsky and Hutch, but the two detectives were goodies, of course, and always won. And I could not imagine anything in creation more goody than Farrah Fawcett Majors from Charlie's Angels, who I put up on my bedroom wall in a swimsuit. However, sometimes my father would shout at Americans on the news because they were sending money to the IRA to kill us. So I realised that some Americans must be baddies too, which was okay because I knew it was a very big country and they couldn't all be goodies. Will Robinson in Lost in Space was an American and he was definitely a goodie. But Dr. Zachary Smith on the same spaceship was a baddie and he was an American too. Of course, maybe it didn't matter what country you came from when you were lost in a because someone had an American accent didn't mean they actually came from America, like the DJs on Downtown Radio, for instance. However, there was no doubt whatsoever about her. Everyone knew the facts. Russians, Provos, and Daleks. They were the worst. They were the ones who wanted us dead the most. They were all powerful, showed no mercy, and wanted to exterminate us. Of course, the Provos didn't have as many nuclear bombs and ray guns as the Russians and the Daleks, but they lived just over on the other side of the peace wall, so they were much more immediately threatening baddies. I could understand why the IRA wanted the Brits out and all, but I couldn't understand how they decided who they were going to kill to get their way. It was dead scary, so it was. Loyalists were easy to understand because they just wanted to kill Catholics, full stop. But the IRA had an ever-growing list of what they called legitimate targets. Some of these I could understand, such as soldiers and policemen and taxi drivers. But when the list started to grow to include cleaners and painters and decorators, I began to get worried. If the IRA wanted to kill you, they would get you. So you lived in hope that they wouldn't make you one of their legitimate targets. But the way things were going, it seemed soon all Protestants, including Paperboys, would be legitimate targets. I started to get concerned when I noticed a pattern from the pages of my newspapers. The IRA were favouring attacks on milkmen and blowing up the milk marketing board. I concluded that the milk industry must have been a major barrier to a united Ireland. It reminded me of Trevor's Da's campaign to boycott Catholic cheese so to save Ulster. I wondered if the Provost thought all the cows were Protestants. I suppose that would have been hard to swallow, right enough. Or maybe they thought the Brits were putting secret drugs in the milk to turn us English and that we would all wake up one day talking like on Monty Python. I guess for a Provo, that would be worse than being chopped up and turned into Frankenstein's monster in a black and white movie on BBC Two on a Friday night. I thought that if Trevor's Da and a Provo ever got together in prison, they would probably have a lot in common, as long as the Provo liked Elvis and absolutely no dairy products were present. When the milkmen came under attack, I was more worried than I had ever been that the IRA were about to turn their sights on me. Milk was a delivery service after all, and perilously close to my own profession. One night I had a nightmare that Rory O'Brady went on the news and said that paperboys delivering the Belfast Telegraph were now officially a part of the evil British propaganda war machine thingy he was always talking about. I woke up in a terrible sweat. I had to look up at Farrah Fawcett Majors for quite a while for some comfort before I could get back to sleep again. But one night, the bullets and bombs came closer to me than I had ever experienced until then. Ironically, it wasn't because I was a paperboy delivering propaganda for the British War Machine thingy. It was because I was a Boy Scout. Okay, I'll continue the story in a wee minute. Just want to say who's joined me this evening. I want to say hello to everyone. Hi, Nigel McComb and Alan McLean. Hi, Mary Black. Good evening, Anne Kirk. Good to have you. Hi, Gannon and Andrea. Hello, David Kerr from the Woodvale. Good to see you. You'll never guess, I was on the Woodvale Road a few weeks ago before everything closed down with a Hollywood director looking at where they wanted to shoot the Paperboy movie. It was amazing. Hard to believe. Hello, Martin and Marie and Damien and Bevan. Hi, Ali Bennett. Good to have you along again, Ali. And Betty O'Riordan. Hope you enjoyed tonight's installment. Hi, Tanya in Norway. Great to have you along, Tanya. And Dee and Fiona and other BRA old girl. Hi, Marianne and Peter. Good to have you all along. Oh, there's a few more here. Oh, you like the fire? Do you like the fireplace, Ali? Leslie has it all done up for Easter, as you can see. Hello, Angela and Keith. Listening, good to have you along. Andrea, a trainer, thank you, Tony. Loving your tales from home, bring out so many memories from my childhood in East Belfast, now living in Thatcham. Lovely to have you along. Andrea, yes, I write in Paperboy that East Belfast is where they built the Titanic that sunk. Michael McKinley, hello, good to have you along. There's the lovely Leslie, has said she's decorated it for Easter. Brendan Mooney, good to have you. And Kenneth Glenville, good to have you along. Kenneth, hi Hazel Francie. Hello again, Mary Black. Oh, you've been reading Bread Boy over the weekend. We'll see how we go after I finish this. I might move on to Bread Boy if you can take any more. Paul Grudging's another BRA boy. Good to have you, Paul. And Donna Hunter, great to have you. And Heather Burns, Sabina in Germany, lovely to have you, Sabina. Hope you're all doing well, safe and well there with the family in Germany. And Lisa McKim from Bangor. Hello, good to have you all. So I'm going to continue the story from chapter 11 of Paperboy. I liked being a scout. I had won Best Cub Scout in our troop in 1971. Normally, Scouts was on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock in the same Nissen hut as the Westie Disco, except on Scouts nights, the lights were on and there was no snogging. However, this week we were meeting early at 6 o'clock because we were going on a visit to the Belfast Fire Brigade headquarters. I was very excited about the prospect of seeing the fire engines up close because the nearest I had ever been to one was watching Trumpton. I wanted to meet the brave firemen who dampened the flames of the bonfires, the buses, and the co-op superstore. My excitement was subdued, however, by the problems the early start would cause me as a hard-working paperboy. Determined to get everything fitted in, I rushed home from school, completed a particularly nasty algebra homework, and learnt my Latin verbs. Equipped with this absolutely crucial knowledge, I collected the papers from Almac with even fewer words than usual. Then I dashed over hedges at speed and delivered all 48 Belfast telegraphs faster than my wee brother on his space hopper at sports day. It was now 5:30. I gulped down 2 fish fingers and a lump of smash and swiftly changed into my scout uniform. This was a green jumper with a yellow scarf held together with a woggle. Different scout troops had different colours of scarf, and it was unfortunate that our scarf was yellow because when I saw the IRA marching on the news, they had green shirts and yellow scarves too. They looked just like our scouts, in fact, except they had dark glasses and guns, while we had woggles and first aid badges. By 10 minutes to 6, I was ready to leave. I would have just enough time to run down the hill to the West Circular Road to join the other scouts. But as I opened the front door to leave, I heard a burst of gunfire and then another. It was much closer than usual. I felt my father put his hand on my shoulder and draw me back into the house. "How are your horses?" he said. "Wait till I see where that was." Daddy got out the FM wireless and tuned it in to the Army radio channel. You weren't really allowed to do this, but everyone did because you could always find out where the trouble was, even before downtown radio news. We soon heard English voices using the code name Charlie. Everybody knew that meant our area. A voice said, "Shooting on the West Circular Road." That's where the scouts were, shooting at the shops on the West Circular Road. Another voice crackled. This was just across the road from the Nissen hut. What if one of the scouts was over there buying chewing gum to bring on the trip? I thought. That's what I had intended to do if I hadn't been so late. After a few more minutes of listening in to the secret conversations of the security forces, my father agreed that it was safe enough for me to go down the road to see what had happened with the scouts. This was far more exciting than a visit to the fire station. As I ran down the hill, I could feel my heart beating twice as fast as usual. At first, I thought this was down to the combination of sprinting and the excitement of the gun attack, but then it occurred to me that it might be my bad heart, so I slowed down. Suddenly, as I reached the bottom of the hill, the whole earth shook. The windows of the houses around me fell onto the street. I froze on the pavement, clutching my woggle, and the whole world stopped. It seemed, apart from the sound of raining splintered glass. Then there was silence. Then alarms and sirens and men shouting and women screaming and a foul, heavy black smoke everywhere. Danger, Will Robinson! Danger, Will Robinson! As I ventured round the corner onto the main road, I noticed some of my scout patrol crouching down on the ground behind a police cordon. There were still some windows falling out, and I saw there were no tiles on the roof of the post office. I spotted wee Sammy Reeves in the crouching crowd. Sammy didn't wash much and never had a girlfriend, but he was exceptionally good at knots. His face looked very white beneath the grime. What happened? I whispered to him. I don't know why I whispered, but no one was talking out loud. The provost fired at the scouts waiting outside the hut, and we all had to duck down on the ground behind a car, and we nearly shit ourselves. And then the police came and shouted at us to get away fast because they'd planted a bomb at the shops, and as soon as we get back here, the whole fucking... I had missed it. I had just missed it all by 5 minutes. Crestfallen and shaken, I walked home to hear what exactly had happened on the downtown radio news. I listened to the same bulletin every hour until midnight, even though the news didn't change. It just said there had been a gun attack on a group of scouts in West Belfast. The next evening, it was on the front page of my papers, though no one in Belfast Royal Academy had even mentioned it in school that day. However, Titch McCracken was angrier than I had ever seen him, and he wasn't even in the Scouts after he got thrown out for smoking in a tent at Crawfordsburn Country Park. Titch said it just proved that all Catholics hated us and supported the IRA. But later when I was in school with wee Thomas O'Hara, and he was joking that I fancied Patricia Thompson, I was very certain that he wouldn't want to hurt anybody. For months, the rest of the Scouts could talk about how they had stood up to the IRA and escaped the bloody attack. But all I could say was that I'd been doing the papers at the time. One of the older boys was awarded the Queen's Award for Scouts for his courage in getting all the younger boys to hit the ground when the bullets started flying. The Reverend Lowe said we should thank God that we were delivered from harm that night and that we should not be longing for more such incidents in our lives. He must have been reading our minds and somehow understood the strange fascination violence held for us. For the rest of my career as a paperboy, when I sometimes heard gunfire in the distance while delivering my papers in the dark, I thought about the night they shot at the Scouts. I worried that there might be other wee lads my age out there who weren't getting a chance to duck down in time. Wee lads just like me, not really understanding all the trouble going all around us. Maybe they liked Doctor Who too. Maybe they had a lovely girlfriend like Sharon Burgess. Maybe they were hoping to go to the Bay City Rollers concert in the Ulster Hall. I could not forget the night the bullets missed the Scouts and I had missed the bullets. I kept on wishing it would all end, but I knew it never would, so I did. So there you are. That's chapter 11 of Paperboy. So thanks everyone for listening. Hello to Patrick and Patrick, who played Big Isabel in the musical version of Paperboy. Great to have you along, Patrick. and Lisa and Andy Macaulay, another one of the worldwide Macaulay clan. Susan, lovely to that you're listening while walking home from work, and Alan Sheeran, great to have you all along. I hope you enjoyed this evening's episode, Paperboy. I'll be back tomorrow night at the same time with chapter 12. So until then, stay home, stay safe, and stay positive. Bye for now.